Hi, this is Jeff White with Life and Living Now, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about meditation, one-pointed meditation in particular. I had previously written and spoken on this a little bit about one-pointed meditation, about how to go about establishing the practice itself. I've always felt that this one-pointed meditation, a single focus, is the foundational piece for all the other types of meditation that we utilize, or at least I know that I utilize, primarily because it creates the discipline of focus, intention, and awareness from which all the other benefits have their genesis. So the idea is this practice is the base, the foundational practice for the other types of meditation that I do. The other types have their small circulation, there's grand circulation, there's times I'm focusing on different areas or different things, and those are all very good and very powerful, but they also require a certain amount of relaxed intention with a great deal of focus and intention, and this one-pointed meditation is the one that helps to build that and train that awareness and train those muscles. So I suppose probably a good place to start is essentially what is meditation itself when people are looking at that. And it's an ancient practice whereby an individual takes a technique such as focused attention on a particular object. It can be a particular thought. It can be an activity to train attention and awareness. It can be a mantra, making a sound, anything that's a tool that the mind focuses on to the exclusion of everything else. Because, we always have this chatter. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We always have this chatter that goes on in our brains, so it's learning to let that go. It's learning to clear the smoke and the haze away of all those automatic thoughts and things that we think and how they connect to each other, and be able to sit not just in silence, because even though it's silence, there's lots of information, there's lots of things that are happening, so it's a bit of a paradox, but you have to experience that. But you let all this go so that you are not training your mind not to think, but you're simply letting go of the thoughts to reveal the deepest part of yourself and the deepest part of your mind. So using the technique, I said, it aids the individual in achieving a mentally and emotionally stable state, as well as an overall calm state of being. So meditation can be quite transformative for the individual depending upon the intent of the practice. And that's something we'll talk about in other videos, is that the intent that you bring to your practice also determines the outcome. If I'm just sitting looking at just stopping my thoughts, I will eventually I will encounter emptiness, which is good, and I will sit with that emptiness. But am I doing anything with that? And that becomes part of the intent. There are certain meditation styles and disciplines that all they do is they want the quiet cessation of the mind. I tend to think that we are here to use our mind, and nature is there to serve us. We are there to serve nature as well. We're all one, so it's a symbiotic relationship. But nature begins to teach us, how do we focus, how do we use creativity, how do we use even goals and things like that. How can we use the resources? How can we benefit other people? All this can come from that meditation. Mindfulness meditation, insight meditation, where you're watching your thoughts as if they're in bubbles, thought bubbles, and you're just letting them go, and you're not becoming attached to them, but you are being observant as to what thought was the genesis to this thought. Where did that thought go? And you begin to learn how your mind then reacts and responds and how it connects things together. This becomes very beneficial in learning how to establish a better response to stress. The main reason that I will start to use meditation is for that calming, that sense of mental and emotional equilibrium, that sense of calm focus. And then from that, I may add in my personal journey was for knowledge of the self, self-realization. Um, and so I wanted to see the self. And so when I go into that deep meditation, I feel my oneness with everything. I feel my consciousness expand out. Other times I'm focusing my consciousness on in different areas and organs and their health or meridians. So it just depends on how we want to use the mind as we begin to focus it. For me, everything starts with the fact that we are spirit, that we are the self. It is our existence can, in some ways, be analogous to the waves of the ocean, where they have the ocean underneath us. We rise up and we exist in our wave for that period of time. We seem to be singular, but actually, at our deepest level, we're one with this vast ocean. That's somewhat similar to how I view who we are and how we are. I believe we are all consciousness. I believe everything is energy and consciousness, and that we are spirit. We are part of that original face, that original, not just consciousness, but that which came before consciousness, that we are all part of that. And I feel very strongly with that, and that we possess a soul, we possess a mind, an ego mind, and there's overlap. If you look at Chinese thought, they'll consider spirit to also be part of mind, because as you raise your spirit and you enliven your personality, all that came from the spirit. And with the word, even in English, has a lot of different meanings as well. How I use this here is spirit is who you are. It is, we are one with everything. We are one with the Creator. We are one with the Tao. We're one with the universe. Whatever name you wish to put onto that, we are one with that. All right? And that being the case, that all life is consciousness, all life is energy. It says, I see things, as I mentioned, we possess a soul that incorporates the mind and emotions. We use the soul really as a tool to navigate our way through this plane of existence. We also currently reside in a physical body, and then one of the lessons we need to learn is how to be skillful in the use of the mind and emotions. And part of what we do is learn how to be aware of and harmonize spirit, mind, and body as part of what the Qigong is about. That's the deeper levels when it goes into martial arts, depending upon how they're taught, can be that way. But I think meditation allows us to harness and control the mind. And that really is what we're kind of after, especially in this particular meditation. But in the beginning stages, if you are an intermediate or advanced meditator, you already know all this. And then I want you to continue, but also expand. And you can write me, we can talk about different ways of expanding and what we want to be able to expand. But it depends upon what your aim is as well. So meditation allows us to take control of our mind and our thoughts. Depending upon the study that I've read, our thoughts, the number of thoughts across our minds are on average between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, many of these thoughts are subconscious and are automatic thoughts. They just fly through our head. And each of these thoughts creates a sort of a wave in consciousness that has an impact. It has an effect on the whole of our experience. Even though it may be minor, they build up. And those thoughts begin to attach to other thoughts. They create other thoughts based upon our experiences, whether they're cultural, personal, biases, affiliations, affections. So what you fear and what you love, you both send out attractions, energy out that attracts like kind and comes back. So, those are a lot of those automatic thoughts that happen. So each of these thoughts, as they create this wave in consciousness, it has an impact. And as that continues to build, especially in our day-to-day thoughts, it's what determines our character. If I'm always thinking negative, if I think somebody's always out to get me, or if I think that I have to be aware and I don't trust people, all those thoughts, it's going to revolve around some of those concept ideas that we hold on to as being our personal truth. That affects how we perceive the world. It's all part of our perceptions. If I view the world as a loving, kind place, and I see myself as loving, kind, and welcoming to people, then that's going to affect my character as well. I like a very real approach, and I understand that, as humans, we're steeped in all kinds of ignorance when it comes to consciousness, and we've made great strides. Um, but at the same time, we have a lot more work to do. There's wars going on, there's atrocities, there's genocide that are absolutely horrific, and these are being done by people to people. At the same time, we have babies being born, we have people celebrating their lives, we have good things that are happening. It's all one world. It's all part. And I think as long as we need to be able to accept the existence of that. I don't need to approve of some of those activities, but I can accept their existence because it's reality. And I understand that it is ignorance of who they truly are on their deepest levels that creates a lot of this ignorance. But we don't know that. We're in this stage of consciousness where we are evolving and we're growing. And this is our level of consciousness now, where we are aware, but not all of us are as aware as we could be. And that's part of the growth. That's, ever since we started evolution, this is, right now we're the apex, but we're not the end. So we may be at the current pinnacle, but we have much farther to go. Anyway, different subject. Getting back to the meditation, though, what I really like to go, to kind of focus on, while these thoughts in part set up fields of attraction, they also govern much of our responses. And so we want to take control of our thoughts, be aware of our thoughts, be able to harness them, and be able to perceive really the gap in between the thoughts so that we can relax our attachment to those thoughts in our meditation time, to be able to feel who we are and see who we are. So, whereas meditation allows us then to take control of our thoughts, it empowers us to renew our mind, to think new thoughts, change the direction, change the content of our thoughts. So then by refining and harnessing our thoughts, we quiet our minds, and thus we enable us to see our deepest self and to be a witness of all the thoughts that deny or cover up the truth of who we are. So how do we go about this idea of meditation? So, first off is pick a place. Should be quiet, should be comfortable. Some people like an altar or meditation area. I have no issues with that. I've spoken before on things like traditions and things that we kind of set up to put us into that mind space. And if that works for you, that's perfectly fine. You can do your meditation anywhere, even in a park with lots of people, once you get trained to set aside and to ignore the senses that are around you. But initially, find a comfortable spot. You can sit, somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed or distracted. You can sit cross-legged if you wish. Which is how I do. You can sit in lotus or semi-lotus. If you can prefer, you can sit in a chair. Right now I'm sitting in a four-legged chair in the back. Sometimes I'll do my meditation here. Often I have, like a reading chair that I will just sit in cross-legged. I do put a small pillow or something under, that I'll sit on so that my hips are a little bit higher than my knees. Part of what this does creates a stability, but it also means that my spine moves into a more erect status so that I can breathe better. That's the key, is that we want to have a nice stable platform on which we can just relax. And you can even lean back in your chair as long as you are straight. It is better to develop your lower back and back muscles so that you can sit straight up for extended periods of time and let your structure support you. In our culture, that's not always the case, and we spend a lot of time in our chairs. So you can actually still use the chair or I sit on the couch sometimes, downstairs in our living room to do this, and you sit so that your tailbone is kind of tucked in, your chin is slightly tucked in. You could feel the difference in your ability to breathe. And I would just challenge you and encourage you to try that out for yourself. Sit there and if you kind of just, even a little bit, I've noticed even if I'm sitting and I sink a little bit, well, I can feel that along my diaphragm. And now my breathing becomes a slight bit more hindered. So what I want to be able to do is pick a place and sit in such a fashion that I can breathe effortlessly. This is the key. Tucking your chin a little bit so that the spine, as it kind of connects with your brain and your head, allows for the windpipe, all of this breath to come straight through. So be comfortable. Sit in a stable manner. Another important part is to sit, like I said, your spine's erect. You don't want to have it tensed in any way. Now the second is prepare yourself. I do this by taking several deep breaths. And I put my mind for me in my heart or my third eye, even lower dantian. And that just gathers. Part of what you're doing, that deep breath, you're engaging your parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve, and it has a calming effect. Other times, if I sit down and I can tell, in the past sometimes, especially with my previous work where I had juggling lots of clients' needs all the time, my right brain was always working. Sometimes I needed to sit and I would pick a spot, just any random spot on the other side of the room, focus on that a little bit, but then just relax my awareness. And I was relaxing the tension out of my mind that was still engaged in the day, and I'm focusing and I'm breathing and I'm just staring off to the distance, and then I would close my eyes and I would enter my meditation. There are some teachers who suggest for new meditators that they don't close their eyes completely because new meditators will tend to fall asleep. And I'm neutral on that. If it works for you, fantastic. If you want to do that, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I tend to be a little bit pragmatic that if you actually do continuously fall asleep, then you need to raise your spirit, raise your level of awareness and engagement with your mind, but also, and because it happens to me still, it just means I need more sleep. And once I've calmed everything down, my body went into sleep mode because that's what it needed. And then I'll honor that if I have the time and the ability to. But if you can, sit and, find a spot, sit in proper position, engage, prepare yourself, let go of all your thoughts, let go of your stressors, put your mind in your heart, which I find is easiest for most people to do. You can do lower dantian, which is your lower abdomen, or third eye in your forehead. All right? As you focus on a singular spot in the middle of your forehead or your chosen medium, then do not tense the mind. Just bring it back to awareness. So as you begin to engage your intent and focus on an object, a mantra, a sound, my preference is the third eye, the middle of the forehead above the eyes, you take deep diaphragmatic breaths, focus on the chosen medium. Let go of all intrusive thoughts. Don't stress about them. Just let them go. And you're gonna constantly train, especially at the first. You're going to train your mind to let go, redirect, so you're focusing on just the mind, viewing the mind. And because at first we want to not be carried away with every other thought that hits our head, we have to develop our muscle of intention and our muscle of awareness. And so we do that with this one-pointed meditation, where I do focus on one object and I'm excluding any other objects that comes through. I mentioned do not tense because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and student, and he kind of goes, he was learning meditation, and it was just really hard to kind of focus, and he would get really determined and stressed. And if you're determined, it's one thing, but part of this you want to learn how to engage your intent without engaging your tension. So you want tone in your mind and not tension. It's part of what we teach in martial arts. Is I want tone, but I don't want to have a lot of tension. I don't want to be mentally tense and gripping and forcing myself, although it does seem like that in the beginning. So in the beginning, you may need to do some of that. But the more that you exercise that muscle of intention and you're activating that awareness, the more that builds, that discipline builds, then also learn, relax, not just your body, relax your mind, but still keep your focus intent. And that's the balance. That's part of what happens as you go through intermediate and to a more advanced meditation. In the types of meditation that I do, you learn to relax the mind, but increase your focus, increase your intent. You learn to use your intent and not the tension within your mind. You have to feel this. And it was years before I realized this. And as I was teaching to other people, someone would come back and say, I can't do it. Most everybody said, I just can't do it. It was just too much. And I relay the story that when I first started to learn to meditate, I wanted to go I realized I couldn't just sit for very long. And it just seemed like this inordinate. I couldn't go 10 seconds. And so eventually I thought I had gotten so I was fairly good at it, and I wanted to put my watch down and a timer and do 15 minutes. That seemed like a long time at the time. And I sat for what I knew was at least 15 minutes, if not 20, feeling really good with this. Looked at my watch and it was 5 minutes. So I go, okay. You have to be able to focus and let everything go. You let go of the expectation. So my focus, my intent, is my attention. My attention is intended to this target, and I'm going to keep it there. I do not have an expectation of I'm going to go for 47 minutes. No. You may try that at first just to build up the discipline, but eventually you're going to need to let that go. What you want to focus on is my intention of my attention. All right, so a key for me was to be intrigued, be fascinated with what's on the inside of your mind. Don't get involved in a thought. Don't get attached to thoughts, but be fascinated. When I meditate, I would normally, my chosen spot is the third eye. So I'm looking, on the inside of my forehead, just above my eyebrows. And you keep relaxing the mind and honing a focus in on a point that I see. And eventually, almost invariably, a purplish light, violet light, comes in. And if I can focus on that, then it becomes a white light. If I continue to focus on that, then it gets very real. And some very interesting experiences have happened from that. But you're just engaged, and you're not worried about, how much time I have spent doing this. I am totally in feeling, and I'm in an awareness mode. And part of how I got there was to be intrigued, to be fascinated, to be engaged, and to stay steady. So I want to break, and that's the idea, is to break the automatic nature of our thoughts so that we're not a slave to our minds, or emotions for that matter, but rather we take control of that aspect of our lives so we can have a richer inner life and be calmer and more balanced in our interactions with others. So the intrusion of an errant thought is the main issue that frustrates most people who try to meditate. The truth is, as I mentioned, it happens to everybody. We sit down with the very best of intentions, and then the mind just kind of runs on its own. We really just seem to be unable to calm our minds. When this happens, or whenever errant thoughts comes up, let them go. I have often used a phrase such as "go deeper," "let it go," "I'm the thinker of the thought." I usually find something, or one word, something that just is a trigger, and I just go deeper. And sometimes it changes. I'll go 3 or 4 months using one, and then I'll just be impressed to use some other phrase, and it's perfectly fine. The idea is, as I'm focusing, I'm in my meditation, and all of a sudden I find myself engaging in these thoughts, and all of a sudden these thoughts are connecting, and it can happen in very insidious ways. I can even be thinking, I'm in meditation, and I'm thinking about what I need to do with meditation. I'm thinking about meditation, which is it, instead of meditating. As I'm thinking about it, then I'll say, okay, well, is this feeling here? And that feeling then generated another thought, which reminded me of something else. And next thing you know, I'm running down the rabbit hole. With all that, I just let it go. Once I recognize, as soon as I recognize that I have become attached to a thought, then I just let it go. Go deeper. Go deeper. And you can choose something else. You find what works for you. Some people just, they just go back to focusing on or chanting of a mantra. It was another very, very powerful one that really solidified things for me when I was first starting my meditation practice way back in my mid-30s. And even today, I will use it. It's very powerful. And it is all. Some Buddhists will use a bowl, and you have a sound. Where they hit the gong, and you're following that sound. It's just that's a tool that's there for you to get out of the attachment, to get out of the stream of thoughts, and get back into being a witness to your mind, an observer of your mind, rather than right now being the active participant in those extra thoughts. So, the practice of meditation. So it trains us to slow the mind down by first, being observant of the mind and its thought processes. By focusing our awareness and our thoughts, then we are then, in a place to be able to release our attachments to those thoughts. The more that we begin to simply observe and release our thoughts, the more we're able to release ourselves from the impact of our constant stream of automatic thoughts and feelings. Now, another issue that comes up that may arise and tempt us to disrupt our practice are the troubling thoughts and emotions from incidents that we need to deal with, or even thought that we had dealt with in the past. At times during meditation, as our mind and our heart and our body relaxes, emotions rise up from past issues that we may have thought we dealt with. And often it seems to be issues, as I just mentioned, that we thought we dealt with, but now they come back and we have to deal with them again. When they do, take refuge in the fact that you're progressing. You'll find areas in your psyche where you have repressed negative feelings and thoughts, and now they're coming back into consciousness. And they're doing so that you can deal with them more effectively again. And, this is a fairly common thing. And I have people who do body work, massage work, and they'll say to their clients that sometimes also they'll be massaging somewhere, and all of a sudden, they'll feel this eruption of emotion. For some, it could be tears, but they feel this eruption of emotion, where it unlocks some memory, or it comes in later, and all of a sudden, there's been times when I've been in meditation or finishing, and all of a sudden, something from my past will come up and kind of hit me. You kind of go, wow. One, I thought I dealt with that. Two, why is this up here again? And part of it is just that you're unlocking, you're peeling back layers in your mind as you release the control that your thoughts have had that a lot of times have been subconscious. You've repressed them. Now, many years ago, I was in a seminar with a workshop, actually a several-day workshop with a fantastic gentleman by the name of Dr. Farr, James Farr, who's passed away now. But incredible man. But we were talking, and during this workshop, we were talking about repressed thoughts, and he goes, and somebody asked me, why don't we ever repress the good stuff? And the idea, and the reason is because it's good stuff. We only push away and deny the bad stuff that happens to us that we don't want to feel. Now, this doesn't mean that it was only bad stuff that happened. We could have had good things happen to us, but if we don't feel worthy to receive them, then we're going to repress even those good feelings because we don't feel worthy, because we preferred, given our other set of beliefs, the negative opinions of ourselves. So you have these areas of repressed thoughts. And during meditation, then you may at times, and you may not, but you may at times find you're having to deal with these. Just take refuge that you are progressing, that because you are letting go of areas of your mind that have been held as protectants for that thought, that now you're getting to them, and just let them be. That's the biggest part about that, is feel them. You don't have to go do anything about them. I want you to feel those thoughts, feel those emotions. Let's sit with them. Don't add to them, but don't take away from them. Okay, so I don't need to get myself all worked up about, oh, this is what they did to me. No, just sit there with it. Remember, you want to observe and be the witness of these thoughts, be the witness of these emotions. You do not need to actively engage with them. You don't need to dance with the thoughts. You just need to watch. All right, and as you watch, then those emotions will work itself out of your psyche as well. Um, So that's, I just one of those things where I just kind of, I like to be able to make a notice of that. When you do, you just kind of simply let it go. But so another point to keep in mind is really just don't get stressed out about it. Okay, the mind works best and energy flows best when it is not interrupted by stress or tension. Often, when we commence a meditation, we strive to make it right. However, tension in the mind is counterproductive to relaxing and harnessing. We want to be able to harness our minds. In order to do that, we need to let go and not have that stress. Then we're able to use our intention and harness that mind. Okay? Tension in the mind, as I said, is so counterproductive. Same as tension in the body. When we're in meditation, we kind of do a body scan at times. You got to feel where tension might be. We know to release that. But the more sensitive that you get to your own feelings, the more deep breathing you do, the more connected you are to your heart and your mind, the more you'll also be able to see and feel the tension in the mind. Let that tension go. Let anything that is not peace go. It will come back, let it go again. When it comes back again, let it go again. Each one puts you a little bit farther down the road. All right, and it takes as long as it takes. So once you've established, let me just kind of make a point. It says, once we commence meditation, we strive to take it right. But nature exists for us to learn. At this level, we learn to use our minds as tools. We learn to focus, to engage intent, to create. When we see that we are whole, that we are whole already, that we are the self. Okay, we are spirit, that we're already whole. Our attentions change then to what benefits the whole. Thus, we learn to be more and more skillful in our thoughts, our words, and our endeavors. And that's a mindset that I would love for you to be able to incorporate. That we're not looking for perfection at this point. What we're looking is to be more skillful in the use of our minds and our relations with others and how we conduct ourselves. Okay? Learn to be more skillful. And meditation gives you part of that break that allows you to do that. Once you've established a firm foundation for focused intent, now we can turn that spotlight on to the inner processes of our thinking, discover how our mind works. We do that with mindfulness and insight meditation. In this way, we can then harness it and use the wisdom that we glean to benefit our lives and the lives of others. We can also use this focused intent to bring healing to our bodies. In some cases, we can begin to see through past illusions, so that we see and sense underlying truths that may have escaped us. We can talk more about this as later on as we kind of go through. But the most important aspect for the beginning meditator, as well as the more experienced, is the calm centeredness that a consistent meditation practice will enable you to experience. Meditation will enhance your ability to focus without getting easily distracted. Meditation will reduce stress levels and help calm the mind. Meditation will aid in the promotion of a deeper understanding of your thoughts and emotions, and it will clear away mental clutter, enable sharper thinking skills, and enhance your decision making. So, enjoy. Go practice. Write if you have questions. You can email me at lifeandlivingnow@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a part, we have a Qigong class that's free, and we're open to starting others if there is sufficient demand. It's free of charge Saturday morning, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, if you want to join. If you want to be, or just check out on the YouTube where you found this. You can find us Life and Living Now at YouTube, which is where I put Qigong and meditation. So thank you, and have an absolutely wonderful day.